Well, hello, Mr. Sean. So Sean, today's kind of weird day for me because today is the day I would have started back at school if I wasn't on sabbatical. Definitely feels weird to be here instead of at school. So to any of my school friends who are watching, please don't hate me, first of all. I'm sorry summer's over. I want to wish you a great year and I hope everything goes smoothly. Hope you have great students. I really will miss you all and I hope to see you on some Fridays at you-know-where. Being on sabbatical doesn't mean I'm just sitting around on my laurels. On Monday, I go back to school, but this time as a student. And it's hard for me to convey how excited I really am because I love being a student. So Sean, the other week you were talking about being a nerd. That was no secret, you know. And of course I too lay my claim to nerdum. Nerderaria? Nerdium? Being a nerd. Clearly I think most people would look at me and say, nerd. 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 But I've never really been hooked on video games or ever played Dungeons and Dragons. I've never really been into the fantasy stuff, the Wheel of Time series, Game of Thrones, any of that. So I guess my nerd credentials would come in the form of reading, writing. Sean, I think those Friday nights in high school we spent writing those stories, the ones that we got to date the girls that we would never get to date in real life, usually in which something awful happened to Joe. Oh, poor Joe. That certainly qualifies us as nerds. Definitely not arithmetic. Do you need nerd credentials?
Here's a nerd credential for you. My master's degree from St. John's College.
Nerd. I just pull shit out of the wall getting this down. The reason I mentioned St. John's is because the entire program is reading and then writing with a lot of discussion in the middle. Pretty castle. So that brings me back to my love of learning. I'm not taking the sabbatical to get out of a year of teaching. I'm taking the sabbatical because I really wanted to be a student again. I really do love almost everything about being a student. I love being challenged to read things that I would never read on my own. I love the papers because it's through writing that I really find out what I think about a book or a character or a situation or a problem. And there are few things that I really love more than sitting down with a bunch of interested, smart people to discuss books. No matter how smart you are, there's going to be somebody who has an insight that you didn't have. People who can help you see things more clearly or from a different angle. I do love that reading is a solitary activity, but I enjoy it so much more when I get to talk about it with people. It's one of the main reasons I became a teacher. It never fails that every year a student will bring out something in a book that though I've read it over and over again, I never noticed before. And that, my friends, is the magic of learning. But anyway, I'm nerding out about going back to school. Here are just a few of the books that I will be using. Now I'll be taking my first online classes. I'm a little nervous because I really like the classroom experience. That's one of the reasons I went to St. John's. Most people wanted to get their master's as quickly as possible, so they took it online. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I actually wanted to sit in a room with people to have these discussions. So what took a lot of people 1 or 2 years to get, took me really 5 years to get. I wouldn't change it for the world. I loved it. But based on my residency earlier this summer, see vlog 1, I know this is going to be an awesome experience. Anyway, my love of learning is what makes me a nerd. I agree with you. I think the idea of nerd as being a pejorative statement is way outdated. I don't think we can talk about nerdism without mentioning John and Hank Green and Nerdfighteria. It's obvious to everyone that in a way we're completely ripping off John and Hank and their Vlog Brothers videos, which of course are much better than ours. We need to thank them for helping to make life better for nerds everywhere. Bringing nerds out of the closet, as it were. And helping to make being a nerd cool. So Sean, I think that's it for me this week. Peace out and nerd out. I'm Tess. Named after Tess of the Dogovilles because of unfortunate things that happened to me in the woods.